Yeah, I signed for the loan in her name. She won't know the difference. I froze inside the fitting room, recognizing my husband's voice on the other side of the thin wall. He was laughing, telling his mistress how he'd fooled me. I pulled out my cell phone, activated the voice recorder, and calmly stepped out to face them. One word, and his face went white as a sheet of paper. Lila Vance was walking through the shops at Willow Creek, slowly moving as if through a fog. It had been a rough day at work. She'd spent the morning digging through a mountain of paperwork, followed by 3 hours of customer complaints, and then found out over lunch that the accounting department had messed up the numbers again. Her head was pounding, her shoulders ached, and all she wanted was to get home, kick off her heels, and crash on the sofa. But on the way, she remembered that the trench coat she'd worn for the past 4 years was completely shot. The sleeves were frayed, the lining had split along the seam, and the dark green color had faded into an unrecognizable mess. I need to buy a new one, Isla thought, turning toward the mall entrance. She didn't usually like shopping, especially on a Friday evening, when the place was packed with the tired people rushing to beat closing time. But today, for some reason, she felt like treating herself. Maybe it was a premonition, or maybe just the sheer exhaustion of her monotonous life. Work, home, work, home. Marcus, her husband, had been completely withdrawn these last few months. He came home late, answered questions with one-word replies, and disappeared on weekends, claiming it was either a fishing trip or a guy's night out. Isla had always chalked it up to stress. His job was demanding, and Marcus had always been a quiet man anyway. The automatic doors slid open with a soft hiss. Inside, it was warm and bright, smelling of coffee from the nearby cafe and fresh pastries. People hurried back and forth with shopping bags, children ran between the displays, and soft music played somewhere in the background. Isla pulled her phone from her purse and checked the time. 6:30. She figured she still had enough time to pick out a coat and get home by 8. She rode the escalator up to the second floor where the clothing stores were located. She walked past the athletic wear, past the denim shop, and stopped by a boutique she'd seen many times but never entered. In the window, a mannequin wore a stunning navy blue coat cinched with a thin belt. It looked expensive yet tasteful. Isla stepped inside. The air smelled pleasantly of new fabric and a light perfume. Coats, jackets, and trenches of every imaginable color and style hung on the racks. She stopped by a sharp black coat with a wide collar. "Good evening. Can I help you find something?" A young sales associate approached her, a friendly smile on her face and her hair neatly tied back. "Good evening. I'd like to try on a coat, something classic for everyday wear." "Certainly. What size do you wear?" Size 10. The associate nodded and disappeared between the racks. Isla walked along the display, looking at the models. This one's too bright. This one has a fur collar. Not practical. And this brown one? No, she didn't want brown. It reminded her too much of the old one. "Here, take a look." The young woman returned, holding 3 coats. "This is a classic navy model, very elegant. This gray one has a belt, and here's a black one with an interesting cut. See how the shoulder line is slightly dropped? It looks very stylish." Isla took the navy one. The fabric was pleasant to the touch. Heavy, but not bulky. The color was deep and rich, the kind that wouldn't fade or dull after a couple of seasons. "The fitting rooms are right over there." The associate pointed to a row of stalls in the back of the store. "If you need another size or want to see more models, just call me." "Thank you." Isla walked toward the fitting rooms. 3 stalls stood side by side, separated by thick, muted beige curtains. The first one was occupied. A muffled woman's voice could be heard on a phone call. Isla went into the second, hung the coat on the hook, and started taking off her jacket. Soft instrumental music played in the store. She slipped out of her jacket, hung it next to the coat, straightened her blouse, which had gotten a little wrinkled during the day, and slipped the new coat over her shoulders. She buttoned it up. The material was soft and fit her figure nicely. She looked in the mirror. It sat well. The shoulders were right. The length was perfect. She turned sideways, evaluating the silhouette. Maybe a little loose at the waist? Or was that just the way she felt after a tiring workday? Then, a man's voice, loud, satisfied, and containing a familiar cadence Isla would know anywhere, came from the next fitting room, the one where someone had been on the phone just moments ago. "Stop it, baby, it's fine. I'm telling you, she won't figure it out." Isla froze. The hand that was reaching to unbutton the coat stopped halfway. It was Marcus, her husband, here, in the next fitting room, in a women's clothing store. Her heart hammered somewhere in her throat. Her pulse roared in her ears. Did I imagine it? No, she knew that voice too well. She had lived with him for 8 years, heard him every day, every morning, every night. She'd recognize it even through a wall, even in a crowd. "Why are you worried?" Marcus continued, clearly talking to someone right next to him. "The loan is done. The money's already on the card, under her name, naturally. My credit is trash after that car incident, remember? But Lila's is spotless, clean as a whistle. The bank didn't even really check the documents, just for show. They called once, confirmed the details, and that was it. The money was transferred." A cold chill spread through Isla's body. Her fingers went numb, her breath hitched. She slowly sank onto the small poof in the corner of the fitting room, staring blankly at the curtain separating her from her husband's voice. A loan in her name? What is he talking about? What loan? "Come on," Marcus laughed, and his laughter held such a careless, confident note that Isla felt sick. "The signature? I told you it's all covered. She won't even find out. You know how she is. She doesn't look at paperwork. She trusts me with everything. I slipped her a few documents to sign, told her they were some forms for my job. So she signed them, without looking. The bank doesn't care as long as the signature is there and the ID matches." A woman's voice responded softly, indistinctly. She couldn't make out the words, but the tone was flirtatious, playful. A young voice, not hers. "Don't worry, sweetheart," Marcus continued, and Isla heard the rustle of clothes as he moved. "We'll be in Cancun in 2 weeks. Imagine that. 5-star, all-inclusive. I already picked out the package, just gotta pay for it. And Isla can think I'm on a business trip. She's used to it. I tell her I'm traveling every month. Last month I said I was gone for a week, and we were at the resort. Remember?" He laughed again, the satisfied, carefree laugh of a man sure that everything was going according to plan, that no one would expose him, that he was smarter than everyone else. Isla sat motionless. Her mind was empty. Not even thoughts, just a kind of white noise, like static on an old television. Alone, in her name, without her knowledge, a forged signature, a mistress, Cancun, the Atlanta trips that never happened, the Miami conferences she knew nothing about. She remembered how Marcus had indeed left for a week a month ago. He told her they had an important meeting, that his boss required his personal presence. She even walked him to the door with his bag, kissed him goodbye, and said, "Be safe on the road." And he was heading to the beach with this woman. "How much did you end up getting anyway?" the woman asked, louder this time. Isla heard her voice clearly. Young, sharp. She was definitely under 30. 45,000, Marcus replied, for 3 years. The payments are small, only $1,500 a month. Isla won't even notice. I'll just take her debit card and transfer the money to the bank. I'll tell her it's for utilities or something. She never checks. $45,000. Isla closed her eyes. The sum spun in her head. Unbelievable. $45,000. A loan she hadn't taken, a debt she didn't know about. But what if she finds out? The woman's voice held a note of anxiety. What if the bank calls her or she gets a text? She won't, Marcus said confidently. I gave them my cell phone number when I signed the papers, so all the notifications come to me. And she doesn't go to the bank herself. I told you about 3 years ago. I told her I'd handle all the bills so she wouldn't have to worry. Taking care of her, right? She loves having such an intensive husband, and I quietly control everything. Her card, the accounts, all the finances. How much time had passed? Seconds? A minute? Isla didn't know. She sat staring at the floor, unable to move. Somewhere far away, music played. Somewhere shoppers bustled. But here, in this small fitting room, her world was crashing down. Then something clicked inside, sharp, like a switch being thrown, and in place of the paralysis came icy clarity. A cold, sober thought. I have to record this. I have to document what he's saying, or he'll deny everything, twist it around, lie his way out of it. Isla slowly pulled her phone from her purse. Her hands were shaking, but she forced them to obey. She unlocked the screen and opened the voice recorder app. A large red button was in the middle of the screen. She pressed it. The phone vibrated once. The recording began. Black screen, running seconds, a pulsating red circle. She placed the phone on her knees, screen up, and froze again, listening intently. Every word was now vital. Well, that's great then, Marcus was saying. So we're all set. I'll stop by your place tonight. Isla's stuck at work until 9.
The worst was the emptiness inside, as if something had been burned to ashes, leaving only cinders. Amani lived on the other side of the city in an older apartment complex. Ela went up to the 6th floor and rang the bell. Amani opened the door immediately, tall, light-skinned, in a housecoat and fuzzy slippers. Come in, come in." She moved aside, letting Ela into the apartment. "Lord, you look pale. What happened?" Ela walked into the living room, collapsed onto the sofa, and only then realized she couldn't hold it in anymore. The words poured out about the mall, the fitting room, the recording, the loan, the mistress, everything. Amani listens without interruption, her face growing harder and harder. "Oh, Ela," she breathed out when Ela finished. "I always felt something was off with him, but I thought it was just my intuition acting up. And now I find out I lived with the fraud for 8 years." Ela gave a bitter chuckle. 8 years of trusting, giving him my paycheck, never checking where the money went, believing every single word, and he... Amani sat closer and put her arm around her sister's shoulders. "Listen, tomorrow morning we're going to the bank together. Then the police. I'm with you. Don't worry. That scumbag is going to pay for everything." "I'm scared," Ela confessed quietly. "Scared I won't be able to handle it, that he'll twist it, lie, or blame me." "He won't get away with it. You have the recording. You have the loan agreement with the forged signature. The analysis will confirm it. He's finished, girl. And you were smart not to panic. You recorded everything." Ela nodded. Amani was right. She had the evidence. She just needed to act. They stayed up talking until midnight. Amani made tea, brought out cookies, calming and encouraging her sister, and Ela told her everything that had accumulated over the years. How Marcus had gradually withdrawn, how he'd grown cold, how he'd stopped caring about her life, how she'd blamed it on stress, on work, on circumstances, how she'd ignored the small things, the scent of strange perfume, the calls he hung up on when she was around, the frequent late nights. "I knew, but I didn't want to admit it," Ela said, staring into her cup of cold tea. "I thought if I didn't pay attention, everything would fix itself." "That's not how it works," Amani gently replied. "If there's a problem, you have to face it, not pretend everything is fine. I know that now."